What's good? Today I wanted to speak about what to do when you want someone to believe in what you're doing. So this came about as a question someone asked me. It was with regards to music production and just being a creative, right? They said that their parents were like, nah, this is not something that we think is going to be viable for you. They also said that their partner wasn't for it. They were like, we need you to get work, like real work, so that you can support us and, like we can live a decent life. This music thing's not going to bring you money. So this guy asked me, what did I do to get the people around me to believe? He actually first asked me, do they believe in what you're doing? And I'm like, they do. And right now it's because there's results, right? And then I thought about it and I was like, actually, the reason why they believe in what I'm doing is that I've shown them results at multiple points. So, practically speaking, for you right now, you might be in a situation where you have a partner, you've got parents, you've got siblings, whoever it is, and they're sort of asking you why you're doing what you're doing. And they are not believing the words that are coming out of your mouth, because effectively you can tell someone something. I can tell the next person that I'm going to be great, I'm going to do amazing things one day. But right there in that moment, if you look at the person you're speaking to, chances are you can see in their face whether or not they believe what you're saying. And more times than not, they don't believe what you're saying. And I'd have to say that it was exactly the same for me. When I first started making beats, it's not that it was laughed off, it was just a hobby. It was a thing that I did, and people would come to my room without very little, without much respect for what I'm doing, ask me what I'm doing, I'll tell them what I'm doing, and they'd kind of be like, oh, okay, cool. And then we'd carry on. Or they'd be like, okay, cool, do you want to stop that so we can go and do something else? Sometimes I'd say yes, but quite a few times I was just like, I'm good here, thanks. And luckily for me, I was that homebody. I didn't really, even when I was at Res, I didn't want to be up and about in people's rooms doing stuff. I had my computer, my beat up computer that I got from my sister, thanks to her, because that thing basically set me up. I was just able to just focus on doing what I do and just making beats and getting better. So for you, you might be in a place now where you are questioned, right? And I know there's questions like, what are you doing? Why are you wasting your time? And I had to go through that, where it was, yo, I'm doing this thing, I'm in my downtime, leave me alone sort of vibe. That's kind of the vibe that I had to give, because there's no respect, and you can't get angry at people for not showing respect to something that you do and you love, expecting them to believe in what you believe is going to happen down the line. Even if you say it, you manifest it into the world, you say it and you hope that it's going to happen, or that it's going to happen. You can't be angry at someone else for being a bit skeptical, right? And they do say that as a creative, for you to be able to make something out of thin air, out of scratch, out of your brain, and then show it to the world and believe that the world might actually like it, you have to be a little bit delusional. People are going to tell you that that's garbage, and you are still expected to continue to create until you make something that sounds or feels or looks good. So you kind of have to get a bit delusional. You kind of have to get a little bit in your own head, which kind of goes against what a lot of people say, that you should kind of just don't think about it, and just go for it and whatever. You kind of have to get into your head and think, okay, cool, someone might have said something about it, but I can improve. Someone might have said that I have, my work is decent, but it's not over the top. I can improve, right? So there has to be that level of awareness to say that someone has given me feedback, because isn't that why we make the music, or we create the craft that we do, is that we then put it out into the world. What will invariably happen is that you'll get feedback, and that feedback is what guides you to either making more of the same, realizing you never wanted to make that thing in the first place, or just feeling indifferent about your art, which is, I think, the worst of the bunch. So you have to be a bit delusional in that way, and then at that point you kind of just have to carry on making, regardless of what people say, regardless of what people do. And what that means for you and your partner or your siblings or your parents is that you might need to forge time away from them in an open space and make use of that spare time that you would have had to, say, watch TV, go out with friends, do whatever, and make use of that time to focus on your hobby. Become obsessed with it so much so that even in the times that you should be chilling or relaxing, you're using that time to work on getting better at that thing, whether it be graphic design, photography, making beats, being an artist, a poet, whatever it might be. You just focus your time on that. And sure, it might look like you don't have a life, but who cares? You can give yourself 2, 3, 4 years off socially so that you can improve yourself to a point where you can start creating opportunities for yourself. And I remember for me, it was only when for each of the people in my life, it was only after a specific event did they then believe. And I saw that the look in their eyes, as well as when I said certain things, they believed. And it was a very subtle change in their demeanor or their reaction to what I was saying. But I was like, okay, they get it now. For my dad, it was, I remember the first time I saw Soaked in Bleach on TV, and I was walking past the TV. I don't know why the TV was on channel O. And I was like, Dad, do you remember this guy? And he was like, no, I don't remember him. I was like, he was here the other day. You don't remember? And he was like, oh, snap. He kind of remembered. And then I could kind of still tell that he wasn't 100%, it was just one of those things. I just happened to know someone who had been on TV, and that just happened to be my song on TV. I don't even know if he believed me. But there was a specific day for my dad when he was watching CNN and my music started playing. And it was just a random show. It's called Inside Africa. I think my music still plays there. And my music played, and I was like, hey man, this is mine. And I said it out loud. And my dad happened to be there, and he was like, what are you saying? And I was like, no, this song is mine. And I could tell on his face, my dad was on some, this guy's lying. This guy's talking absolute nonsense. So I carried on because it was on DSTV. I rewind and I listen. I was like, man, this is crazy. CNN? My dad then walks up to me. This man went to go fetch his phone to Shazam the song. He didn't tell me. He went to go fetch the phone while I was playing it over and over. He went to go fetch his phone to Shazam the track. And he showed me a picture of myself and my full name there. He's like, hey, it's you. And I was like, yes, I told you it is me. From that point onwards, my dad has been a believer. He's been an advocate. Sure, he might have been an advocate before, and he can say what he said before, but I saw his body language before, and I saw his body language after that moment. So I created a moment of, change in that. In the same way, for a few people, actually, this is even for myself, actually, was Fiverr. Fiverr in the beginning for me was this thing that I was just trying out, and I kind of just leaned into it properly. I did all my extra time was just focused on Fiverr. People would ask me via text, yo man, what's this thing that you're doing? How does it work? Apparently you can only charge $5 for this thing and for the work that you do, and like how can you survive off of that? $5 must have been around about 90 Rand at the time. And I'm like, look, bruh. Look, you go into my profile now and you might see that I'm charging $5, $10, $15 for these services, but that's where I begin. That's where I start out. Eventually, it's going to go up to $20. Eventually, it's going to go up to $30. I didn't even go that far. It's just like, look, it's going to be more one day. Some months go by and eventually I get to that point. And the people that I'd showed before, the people that I'd given receipts to say, look how much I'm earning. It's not a lot. It's a couple hundred here, a couple hundred there. It's not a lot, but it's money that I've synthesized out of nowhere. When I eventually got to a place where proper work was coming in, I went back to those same people. I'm like, yo, remember that thing I told you about? This is where we are now. That was when I saw, again, faces, like a person's demeanor changes, because at that point, it's no longer just this thing, right, that you're trying out. Now it's actually giving results. And when it gives results, that's when that person is now on your side. Now they're on some, yo, how can I help out? Or how can I get involved? Or this is dope. Like, I didn't think that this was the case. And if they are that type of person, they'll even step back and say, yo, man, I had this all twisted. I had this all wrong about you. And at that point, for you, being the person who believed in yourself and you were a little bit delusional in the beginning, you need to also humble yourself and say, I understand. It didn't look like it was much in the beginning, but now it is. And this is what I need from you. And now it's funny, when you get into that situation, you can then start not making demands, but you can start saying things like, okay, cool, I'm going to go and use time that we otherwise would have had together to then go and work on that thing. And say that this isn't going to happen a lot, but it is going to happen because there is that work to do. It is a little bit erratic. I'm in an industry where things happen, off of, just they could happen out of the blue. So please, I need you from your side to also understand that I'm actually working because look at what I've done so far. And in that moment, that's when you win a person over. And look, you don't have to win everyone over, just the people you care about. And when you do that, that's when the magic starts, because now you go from having resistance from people to having people that support what you're doing. And that's cool. It's having those people in your corner, because they will kill for you. They'll even show you off. They'll be like, yo, look at what that person's doing. I was watching them. They started out at nothing. And you start to get advocates. You start to get, even if it's, you can call them fans, but they become part of your audience and they become your day ones because they were there when this was literally nothing. Yeah, I mean, you could always just tell them to get the hell out of there. Screw you, you weren't with me when I was in the gym, sort of situation. But the best way to do it is to just get them on your side and say, look, thank you for believing in me. Thank you for being with me up to this point, and just keep it moving. So that's how you get people on your side. That's how you get people to believe in what you're doing.